Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive on Manmohan Singh, but not the one you see in history books.
Right.
Yeah, we're going like beyond his time as prime minister, all the economic reforms and all that, and trying to uncover the man behind the policies.
Yeah, for sure. It's so easy to just get caught up in the headlines and everything and forget that these figures that we read about had lives and passions and quirks just like all of us.
Totally, and that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're using this article from the Hindustan Times that takes a look at Manmohan Singh's personal world by looking at some of his favorite spots in Delhi.
Oh, cool.
And it's so interesting what it reveals about him.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah.
I don't know much about his personal life.
Yeah, well, let's start with his love for bookstores.
Okay.
The article mentions that his daughter, Deman Singh, wrote a memoir called Strictly Personal.
Okay.
And in it, she talks about these, thrilling excursions they would take to bookstores.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know, it's such a great image.
Yeah.
And it really gives you some clues about, his intellectual curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't just going to any old bookstore. They were going to places like Ramakrishna and Sen's, Galgosha, and New Book Depot.
Oh, wow. Those are
Yeah.
serious bookstores.
Like serious bookstores,
yeah.
all known for having these really extensive collections, especially in economics and political theory,
That makes sense.
which, makes sense given his background.
Yeah, totally.
But it's just, I don't know, there's something about it that's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's like he had this reputation for being a bit of an introvert,
Right. Yeah.
a man of few words.
Yeah, very quiet and reserved.
Exactly. But then to see this side of him, completely immersed in the world of books,
Yeah.
it just makes you wonder, what thoughts and ideas were brewing behind that quiet exterior.
Yeah, totally. And just think about it. These bookstore visits, they were happening throughout his life.
Right.
Even during his time as prime minister, when he was making these huge decisions
Mhm.
that impacted millions of people.
It's crazy.
And it just makes you wonder, did some of the ideas that he encountered in those very bookstores maybe influence his policies?
Right. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of intellectual nourishment,
Okay.
the article also reveals a very different kind of hunger, a culinary one.
Right.
Turns out Manmohan Singh had a really adventurous palate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was known to frequent all sorts of places from South Indian eateries to Mughlai restaurants.
Really? Okay.
And even had a soft spot for street food.
I would not have pictured that.
I know, it's so interesting, right? Here you have this figure who's often perceived as, very formal, very serious.
Yeah.
Yet he's out there enjoying papri chat and golgappas in Bengali market just like anyone else.
Wow, Golgappas. That's so funny.
I know, I was so surprised by that detail. That's not exactly the image that comes to mind when you think of a former prime minister.
No, not at all.
It makes me wonder what his advisors thought about those outings.
Oh, yeah.
Did they ever try to steer him towards more official cuisine?
That is a great question. I would love to know.
Right. Did those culinary preferences ever come up in official settings like state dinners or something?
Oh, gosh, can you imagine?
Did he ever try to introduce foreign dignitaries to the joys of street food?
I love it.
Oh man, I can only imagine the looks on their faces.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it just makes you realize how much we tend to compartmentalize these figures.
Right.
We only see them in these official roles, and we totally forget that they also have these personal lives and these tastes and preferences that shape who they are.
Yeah, for sure. And when we do get those glimpses into their personal lives,
Mm.
it adds a whole new dimension to our understanding of them.
Totally.
It's like we're adding color to a black and white photograph.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So we've talked about bookstores and street food,
Mm-hmm.
but there's this other culinary adventure that stood out to me.
Okay.
The article mentions this restaurant called Fujia. Malcha, Marg, and Singh apparently developed a taste for Chinese food there,
Okay.
especially their hot and sour soup, spring rolls, and even American chop suey.
Interesting.
I know, and it's we know that he was such a strong advocate for global economic cooperation,
Right.
and maybe this willingness to embrace new flavors, even something like American chop suey,
Yeah.
reflects a broader openness to new ideas and new ways of thinking.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's a really cool connection.
Yeah, it makes you think about how seemingly unrelated aspects of a person's life
Yeah.
can actually reveal deeper patterns in their thinking.
Totally. It's like those personality tests where they ask you about your favorite color or animal
Right.
to reveal something deeper about you. But in this case,
Right.
we're using food and books to unlock insights into a former prime minister.
That's exactly right. And it's making me really curious to hear more about these culinary explorations.
Yeah.
So what other hidden foodie gems did Manmohan Singh unearth in Delhi?
Well, let's get into it. Well, it looks like his culinary journey took him all over the city.
Huh?
The article mentions a fondness for South Indian cuisine,
Okay.
particularly the dosas and idlis at this place called Krishna Sweets in Kamla Nagar.
Oh, yeah, Krishna Sweets. That's a classic choice.
Yeah.
I can almost picture him there enjoying a quiet breakfast,
Right. Yeah.
before a busy day of like meetings and policy making and everything.
Yeah.
Did they mention anything about whether he preferred his dosa crispy or soft?
Hope.
These are the important questions.
Sadly, I don't think the article delves into those specifics,
Okay.
but it does mention another stop on his culinary map,
Okay.
Tandoor in Daryaganj,
Oh, Tandoor.
known for its delicious Mughlai food.
Now that's a place with some history.
Yeah,
It's been a Delhi institution for decades.
for sure.
I wonder if he had like a favorite dish there. Did they mention anything about that?
They didn't specify a dish,
Okay.
but they did say he frequented Tandoor for years,
Oh.
which I think suggests a genuine appreciation for, like, the rich flavors and traditions of Mughlai cuisine.
Yeah, it makes you think about the conversations that must have happened at those tables, right? Like, was he discussing economic policies over butter chicken,
Right.
debating foreign affairs with a side of naan?
It's a much more appetizing image than the usual sterile boardrooms we associate with political decision-making.
For sure. And speaking of indulging,
Yeah.
the article also mentions his love for sweets.
Okay.
Apparently, he was a regular at Bimsane's Bengali Sweet House, known for its sandesh and rasgulla.
Yes, but even in his sweet indulgences, there's a hint of his disciplined nature.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the owner of the sweet shop mentioned that while he enjoyed those treats, he was always very particular about his choices,
Huh.
opting for less sugary options and never overindulging.
So even when it came to dessert, he was practicing moderation and balance.
Exactly.
Classic Manmohan Singh.
Yeah, always thinking things through, weighing the costs and benefits.
It's fascinating how even something as simple as a sweet tooth can reveal aspects of someone's personality.
Right.
It reminds us that these public figures are not one-dimensional.
Right.
They have their complexities and contradictions,
Yeah.
just like the rest of us.
Exactly.
You mentioned contradictions. Well, there's one anecdote in the article that really surprised me.
Okay.
Apparently, there was an occasion where Manmohan Singh almost broke his vegetarianism.
Oh, yeah, the Hilsa incident.
Yeah.
This happened during a visit to Bangladesh back in 2011.
Okay.
It seems he was so tempted by the aroma and the reputation of this Hilsa fish,
Right.
it's a Bengali delicacy,
Okay.
that he jokingly said he was willing to break his vegetarian vow just to try it.
That's hilarious. It's not every day you hear a former prime minister talking about breaking dietary rules for a fish.
Right.
It shows a playful side, a sense of humor
Yeah.
that we don't often see in these public figures.
Yeah, I think it also highlights the power of cultural exchange
Uh-huh.
and how food can transcend boundaries.
Yeah.
You have the Prime Minister of India, a vegetarian,
Right.
being tempted by this fish dish in Bangladesh.
It's so interesting.
Speaks to this willingness to engage with different cultures,
Yeah.
step outside of one's comfort zone, even if it means bending the rules a little.
It makes you wonder what other hidden passions and interests he might have had.
Right.
Did he secretly love Bollywood movies?
Yeah.
Was he a fan of cricket?
Who knows?
What else might we discover about Manmohan Singh if we keep digging deeper?
That's the beauty of these deep dives.
Right.
They take us beyond the surface,
Yeah.
beyond the official narratives, and allow us to explore the full complexity of a person's life.
So we've seen how Manmohan Singh's culinary adventures in Delhi reveal a lot about his personality, his openness to new experiences, and even his disciplined approach to life. But what about those bookstore visits?
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about those thrilling excursions and what they might tell us about his intellectual world.
Well, let's go back to his daughter's memoir for a moment. She describes these bookstore visits as more than just shopping trips.
Right.
They were like intellectual adventures,
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to delve into new ideas and perspectives.
It makes me think about how different those experiences must have been for him compared to the average bookworm.
Yeah.
Imagine being prime minister and browsing the aisles of a bookstore.
I know.
Did people recognize him?
Right.
Did they try to engage him in political debates?
Oh, gosh.
Did he ever get to just relax and enjoy the experience without the pressures of his office?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Right.
And unfortunately, the memoir doesn't provide those specific details.
Okay.
But it does give us some clues about the types of books that captured his attention.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What were his literary passions?
Well, according to his daughter, he had a lifelong love for history, economics, and political philosophy.
Okay.
She describes him as a voracious reader,
Uh-huh.
someone who could just get lost in a book for hours.
That image resonates with his reputation as a scholar and a deep thinker.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if those bookstore visits were a way for him to escape the pressures of politics
Yeah.
and just immerse himself in the world of ideas.
Totally. And it makes you think about the connection between his intellectual pursuits and his political decisions.
Right.
Did those hours spent in bookstores shape his worldview, his approach to policymaking?
That's a really intriguing thought. Could his love for history have influenced his approach to diplomacy? Did his readings on economics inform his economic reforms?
It's definitely something to think about.
Right.
And it raises a broader question. How much do the personal interests and intellectual passions of our leaders shape the course of history?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
But it's one that's worth exploring. I mean, we've seen how seemingly mundane details about Manmohan Singh's life,
Right.
his love for bookstores and his adventurous palate, can actually reveal a lot about his personality and his approach to the world.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder what other hidden depths we might discover if we take the time to look beyond the headlines
For sure.
and explore the personal lives of those who shape our world.
So we've explored Manmohan Singh's love for bookstores and his diverse culinary adventures in Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more anecdote in the article that I can't resist bringing up.
Okay.
It involves fish, Bangladesh, and a near-vegetarian crisis.
You're talking about the Hilsa fish incident, right?
Yes.
Oh, I love that story.
This story just cracks me up. It
Yeah.
seems that during a state visit to Bangladesh, Manmohan Singh was so captivated by the aroma and reputation of the Hilsa fish that he jokingly threatened to break his vegetarianism just to try it.
I know. It's such a great story.
It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about his personality.
Right.
We see a playful side, a willingness to engage with different cultures,
Yeah.
and even a bit of mischievousness in his teasing about breaking his dietary rules.
Exactly. It's a great reminder that even the most serious and reserved individuals have these moments of levity and humor.
Totally.
It humanizes them and makes them more relatable.
Absolutely. And it also highlights the power of food to bridge cultural divides and create connections.
Yeah.
Imagine the conversations that must have taken place around that potential fish dish.
Oh, I know. It'd been amazing.
It's a shame he didn't actually try it. I would have loved to hear his review.
Right.
But I guess we'll have to settle for this glimpse into his culinary curiosity.
Well, even without that final taste test,
Yeah.
I think we've gained a much richer understanding of Manmohan Singh through this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've seen him not just as a former prime minister, but as a man with passions, quirks, and a deep appreciation for life's simple pleasures.
I completely agree. It's been fascinating to explore this side of him, the man behind the policies,
Yeah.
the intellectual behind the quiet exterior.
And it leaves us with a thought-provoking question. How would our understanding of history change if we had these kinds of insights into all the figures we read about in textbooks?
That's a great question. It makes you wonder what hidden depths we might uncover if we looked beyond the official narratives and explored the personal lives of those who shaped our world. Like, what would those history books even look like? Instead of all the dates and battles, we'd have chapters on their favorite foods and their, go-to bookstores, the things that made them laugh.
Imagine reading about, Gandhi's favorite street food stall.
Right.
Or Nehru's hidden passion for poetry.
It would completely change how we connect with these figures, right? It would make them feel so much more human, so much more relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe it would even help us understand their decisions and actions in a new light.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen how Manmohan Singh's love for books and, his adventurous palate can reveal so much about him,
Right.
about his personality and his approach to the world.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even the most powerful leaders,
Right.
the ones who are shaping the course of nations,
Mhm.
they're still individuals with their own unique stories and preferences and experiences.
Totally. And those individual stories, those personal details,
Yeah.
they can often provide the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of their motivations and decisions.
It's like that saying, the personal is political.
Right.
What might seem just trivial details about someone's life can actually have profound implications for how they see the world and how they approach their work.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the personal world of Manmohan Singh, I think the takeaway is pretty clear.
What's that?
There's always more to the story that meets the eye.
Absolutely. And whether it's a former prime minister or a historical figure from centuries ago, remembering their humanity,
Yeah.
it helps us connect with them on like a much deeper level.
And those connections, those moments of recognition and understanding,
Yeah,
that's what makes history come alive.
for sure. It transforms history from just this collection of facts and figures
Right.
into like a tapestry of human experiences, triumphs and struggles and passions.
So on that note, I think I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
Okay, hit me.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, not to talk about politics or policies, but just to get to know them as a person, who would it be?
Ooh.
And what would you ask them about their life beyond the history books?
I love that question. That's a great one to leave our listeners with.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this is fun.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.